Welcome to the Salmo Area G public budget meeting. I'm just doing a sound and video check, so I just want to make sure those that are online can hear me. Can you either come online and say yes or send a message? Oh, I got a thumbs up. That's great. So I'm going to assume everybody can hear us and see us. We're going to turn off our video because most of the evening will be a presentation. So we'll leave the video off, we'll leave the sound on. And if anybody's got any message, would like to add something, yeah, please put your thumbs up or raise a hand or add something to chat, and we will try to accommodate during the presentation. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Yev Maloff. I'm the General Manager, Finance, IT, Procurement, as well as CFO for the Regional District. I've been with the Regional District just about 3 years now, and this is our first public budget review meeting of the 2025 year.
I'm Diana Lockwood, Mayor of Salmo. I can't see any of your faces, so.
And I'm Hans Cunningham, the Area C Director. You know, we surround Salmo, and I've only been here for 37 years, so most of you know me, and if you don't, I'd really like to meet you.
And I'm Derek Witkowski, the CAO for the Villages.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So we have a fairly lengthy presentation this evening, so we'll get started. And I might breeze through a couple of the slides. There's lots of details. Just let everyone know the slide package will be available online tomorrow on the web page for this meeting. So along with the link to the budget package, the slide package will be available tomorrow. Okay, I'm just going to turn our video off and leave the sound on. Okay, and the presentation is over here. Okay, the agenda. So we'll do just a quick overview of RDCK, how it functions and services, and then we'll talk a bit about property tax, property value assessments, and taxation. Just a few slides there. A general outlook for 2025. We'll go through most of these services that affect Salmo and Area G, and then some pie charts showing the relative how taxation bills might look for various residents throughout Area G and Salmo. And just again, a reminder, this is a draft budget. It's actually our first draft, fresh off the presses. It was released last Friday. So I wouldn't by any means call it a final budget. We're still going through our year-end processes, compiling final numbers for last year, which will influence surplus carried forwards, and as well impact some of the budget. So this is our first go around. All the directors received the budget last week, so we're already receiving a bit of feedback. We do expect it to change over the coming weeks. Probably 2 more drafts, one before our budget meeting, which is slated for March the 20th, Friday, with the directors. I'm just going to try to close this, and where did my mouse go? Not sure about. Oh, is it? Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's not the same screen I'm seeing here.
Ooh. Man.
Isn't that weird? Just bear with us a second. We're having a technical issue here. Why is it not on? Oh, okay. I guess we'll Need to do that. Yeah, that's not what the people are seeing in line. So just go, here we go. And I need to. Okay. So this slide describes outlines a bit of the budget review process. Literally, I would say in developing this budget, thousands of hours of person hours have gone into it, not only including staff, managers, supervisors, and also directors and various committees and commissions. So on February 21st, the board will be having a special budget meeting to review various services. Many commissions, committees have already met several times over the last few months to review budgets and to do planning, and that's captured in the current draft budget. And we have a couple of local service committees, one in Creston, one in Castle. And then as well, directors and participants, there's been discussions with regarding a few other budgets. So RDCK services, the regional district has about 186 services, not including the allocation services. They can roughly be put in these buckets listed on the right there. Governance administration, resource recovery, rec, fire, sustainability, building inspection, water, and as well taxation contributions to fund various societies and organizations. One of the key things that differentiates the regional district from municipalities is each of the regional district services has to stand on its own and its budget is tracked individually, and we cannot move funds if one budget's in one service is doing better than the other, we cannot move funds from that budget, that service to the other. And so that's the big difference. Whereas a municipality has more flexibility throughout a year, even in its budgeting process, to allocate funds to various services it provides. The regional district doesn't. And the reason behind that is each service has a different taxation structure. So some services, I'll go on to the next slide. Some services, for instance, general admin, are region-wide, and everybody in the region, including property owners and municipalities, participate in that service. Other services, the smallest level might be a water utility that only has 20 residents in it. So the slide on the right shows the different electoral areas and the major municipalities in the regional district. Okay, one of the questions that often arises is how are property taxes for the regional district calculated? And so it's a separate process. On the left-hand side, the regional district, through its budgeting process, creates the tax requisition amounts required to fund each service. And so that's done independently of the property assessment values, which are determined by BC assessment. And then once we have the taxation budget for service, we divide it by the property assessment values. And then for each service, that comes up with a tax rate per thousand. Our budgeting process generally does not target a tax rate. It's independent of, for the most part, of setting a tax rate, which is another place that sometimes differs from municipalities where they'll target a tax rate and then use those funds and allocate it between services. The regional district sets the budgets for each service independently. And then once there's a tax rate, and then for each service, each property that participates in that service, that tax rate's multiplied by the assessed value of each property, and that's the property tax for that property for that service. So we'll talk a bit about assessment value changes from 24 to 25. So across the regional district, the average was a 5.2% increase. Notably for this call, Area G had an increase of 2% and Salmo of 6.7% over the last year. That's total assessment value change. But interesting to keep in mind is a part of the assessment increase might be because there's new construction, renovations, and such. And then those are what are called market change. So that's new property values that are being added to the pool. So for Area G, most of its assessment increase was actually, the market change is, the non-market change is the increase in new construction, and market is in valuation. So most of Area G's increase was due to market values. A very small portion was for new construction and renovations. Salmo was the village of Salmo was quite a bit different. 4.4% was due to market increases, and a significant portion, about a third of its increase, was due to new construction, renovations, etc. Okay, here's a detailed graph that shows the annual assessment changes going back basically 9 years. The blue graphs, the blue bars show the 1 year or the year-over-year change for each area and municipality in the regional district. So again, you can see Salmo. This is the combined. It's about a 7, almost 10% change. Area G about 2. So a wide variation in the regional district in any given year. Slocan, a fairly large decrease. So we've got from a minus 6% decrease to almost 11% increase, so about a 17% range. And what the orange bars indicate is about the 9-year compounded average change. As you can see, there's quite a bit less variation. So if you go back year over year, you'll see big swings and differences, and you'll see big increase in municipalities that'll go out to rural areas and then swing back. But over a 9-year period, we're looking at only a difference of about 4% versus over a 9-year period between the areas versus almost a 16% difference over 1 year. Okay, we'll jump into the taxation charts. And where this first chart is from, it's from the draft budget package, which there's a link in the webpage to this. And so this is basically the taxation summary for Area G, Salmo Rural. I've only had to have the years 25 and 24 up here. So this is if you really want to know about where your taxes go. If you're a resident of Area G, this is a good place to start. It lists out all of the services that on this sheet anyway that everybody in Area G pays into. So you can see the assessment value for each service is the same, about $65 million. And there's about around 20 or more services there that the Area G residents pay into. The largest service by far is the refuse disposal or waste disposal service, followed by the Rec Commission. And so that shows the requisition for the whole area, and then as well as the calculated rate per thousand, and then a comparison going back to 2024. So again, this page is available in the draft budget document. And at the bottom of that page, there's not enough room to show it on the screen, are now the services that only defined areas pay for in Area G. So you can see on there that the assessment values are different. So fire protection in Weimar is about a third of all Area G residents pay. Of course, that's resident or properties that are near Weimar. Street lighting in Weimar is even a smaller amount of properties. So this shows the individual services and the requisition changes year over year. And then we'll jump over to the village of Salmo. So a shorter list of services that the regional district provides for Salmo. But again, refuse disposal and the rec commission, Salmo, and G, as well as the swimming pool, are the largest services for the village of Salmo. And again, the assessment value is the same as every property in the village of Salmo participates in these services. One key thing to keep in mind when we're talking about regional district taxes and your tax bill, when you get your tax bill, it's not only going to equal what shows what we're talking about tonight, because there will be, if you're in the village of Salmo, you're going to get a portion of your taxes are going to come from the regional district, or are going to be part of the regional district services. There'll be taxes from the village of Salmo, and then school, etc. So we're not covering off the total tax bill either for Salmo or for Area G today, but just the actual RDCK services that impact your tax bill. And one other page here from the draft budget is the summary page. And so this shows the change in assessments, but also now the change in taxation for every area in the city of and the municipalities. And so basically the net change is what the average home or property owner in each, or homeowner in each area municipality, their taxation change will be. So Area G about 8.3, and the village of Salmo for the regional district portion of taxes is about 10.1% for about a 7.7% average overall. Okay, so we'll jump into the 2025 year and a little more detail about some of the services. And we'll start with a bit of an overall outlook. Again, about a 7.7% increase in the February 10th draft budget. We did a bit of a survey with other regional districts. We found most of them range from about 7 to 9%. We didn't, of course, survey them all. So it's about in line from what we're seeing and hearing, as well as from other municipalities. Of course, there'll be some that are lower than this, and some that'll be higher. CPI increase in staff salaries and director stipends was 3.3%. There's still a minor catch-up component because we actually use a 2-year average and then a 1-year average for CPI. And then we use CPI because it largely tracks inflation changes for the wider public sector. Other thing to keep in mind, we've got decreasing interest rates, which will reduce interest charges on our short-term loans, but it'll also reduce investment income, which we've seen some healthy investment income over the last 2 years, but it will be going down. You will, on our longer term loans, the rates are fixed for periods up to 10 years. So we've actually had a few instances where long-term loans were redone this year, and so they used to be at lower rates of about 1 or 2%, and now they're up to 4%. So some services are actually seeing increases due to changes in interest rates. One of the key focus areas across the regional district is asset management. So we're working on growing out our plan. So this includes the one new position in the plan this year, which is the asset management coordinator position, which we're hoping to start recruiting for in the spring. All right, 2025, again, overall outlooks, challenges and opportunities. As I'm sure everybody's aware, one of our biggest challenges and uncertainties is where the trade disputes, including the tariffs and counter tariffs, are what's going to happen there. So this may lead to increased inflation, potential slowing of economic activity, and potentially even a more severe economic downturn. So which that'll affect the regional district, both from a cost and revenue service, as well as our residents. Similar to the dropping Canadian dollar, that will lead to increased inflation and procurement costs. New federal government coming in the coming year. Right now, that the impact on the RDCK is uncertain. And the other thing we hear in the news a lot about, and more so these days, is artificial intelligence. So that is advancing quickly. So we are at the regional district, we're currently seeing some limited, although successful use of AI at the regional district, mainly to help write and summarize some reports and other documents. And of course, we need to be using AI mindful of its accuracy and privacy concerns. Okay, we'll go through some services. I'm not going to go through all the detail on these. Again, they'll be available on the slide package tomorrow. So general admin, everybody across the regional district pays into this. This is basically corporate administration, finance, IT, HR, CAO, and the municipal directors. That 3.3 wage increase, a small increase in some mileage rates. IT is one of the areas we're seeing some larger increases. Basically, all of our software licensing, we're seeing anywhere 5 to 10% or more increases. In those areas where we're basically price takers, we do evaluate our options, and we do our best to manage our licensing. But moving from one platform to the other is not always done with low resources. Part of that is transitioning to Microsoft 365. That continues, including migrating our document files to the SharePoint environment. I was part of the analysis this year. We looked how many files we have on our server. We're right around 2 million files. That goes probably back 15 or 20 years. So we'll have a bit of a project to clean that up and move it to a new environment. The other cost, large increase with IT and license related, is our accounting system, Unit 4. We're informed it's no longer going to be supported in our data center, and we're being basically, for lack of a better word, forced to move to their cloud-based version at a cost of $80,000, and then an annual increase in license fees of $80,000 as well. So not an insignificant amount. We did do a bit of an evaluation of, is there a better option right now? But we've talked to a few other municipalities going through the process of moving to other ERPs, and one of the regional districts will be spending, I believe, their budget's about $3 million to move to a new ERP. So we're going to probably stand pat for where we are now. Next service is rural admin. So this houses rural director expenses, fire services, regional fire services, and bylaw services. One of the big grants we usually receive on an annual basis is from UBCM for fire training grant. And so that's in the budget. And now we'll go through some of the other services. So Salmo Area G, building inspection is provided by the RDCK for both Salmo and Area G. In 2024, we saw continued softening of revenue with lower construction. And because of that, we had two open building or positions in the building inspection department. We've removed them to the budget. We won't be filling those positions unless new permit activity recovers. So there's, I believe, about $180,000 of savings there, including benefits and other costs. And always there's revisions to BC Building Code. So that affects the work we do. And we have a scanning project of scanning paper files, paper building permit files continues there. Planning, operations stable on budget. There's a provincial funding grant that we received that will be used to fund some of the projects this year. And there's a list of some of the projects below there. GIS, again, operations are stable. We're going through a strategic plan to assess client needs. Some of the projects we're working on is the Next Gen 911 project and transition project, and about a 3% increase in requisition. So Area G, Service 105, Salmo doesn't participate in the service. So some of the main projects, initiatives are protection of drinking water and watersheds, food and agriculture, transportation and energy. And then A108, which I believe both participate in. This involves and the service is funded mainly by external grants and partially by S100. So energy specialists and community resilience coordinator positions and some climate action work continues there. Okay, emergency management. So basically this is the service that looks after the implementation of the new Emergency and Disaster Management Act. So it's definitely having an impact on this service and what it requires to do. We're moving to a more multi-jurisdictional model and continually updating, aligning bylaws, policies, and procedures to the new regulations, and increasing capacity in the service. As many people are probably aware, our Emergency Operations Center also runs through this service, which is reimbursed through BC Wildfire or the provincial government for that, but the service gets fairly stretched over the summer depending on both for flooding risks as well as wildfire. So continuing on, this through this emergency management, it provides a wildfire mitigation program, wildfire resilience program, and various fire smart programs. Okay, central resource recovery. The regional district is responsible for basically waste management throughout the regional district. So it runs the landfills, the transfer stations, and the region is divided into three. East is Creston, central is Salmo, north through Caslow, and west is Castlegar up to Nakusp. So S187 is central, so it's a shared service, again, from Salmo through Nelson and up to Area D. So 8% taxation and 10% tipping fee increase, and a few initiatives changing to a contaminated wood waste management program in May of 2025. The HB facility has some work going on there. And from fleet purchases, we completed the purchase of a loader, I believe, for the Groveland transfer station last year. And we're looking at a compacting trailer and another trailer in 2025. Expansion of the Groveland recycling depot that should be 2025. Legacy landfill assessments, some hydrological assessments, and some other initiatives listed there. Okay, Salmo Area G. So some services that are very specific to this Salmo Area G. One is the S230, which is the recreational program service. Just a second, I'm going to look at the page here. Oh, thank you. So this service provides a fair amount of recreational programming to the area. So that includes camps, and service initiatives will include staffing recruitment, forging relationships with other community organizations, and some short-term education workshops. Fitness, continuing exploration of how to serve communities better, as well as standardization of internal processes. One note to make about this service, if you're looking at the budget that's currently online, that one, it will be, or has been changed, or will be changed in the next version. So if you follow or look at the budget page on the regional district, I would expect a website that this would be one of the budgets that will be updated in the coming week. Continue the service aquatics. Planning for a launch of adapted lessons, funded training program, as well as an aquafit instructor course are planned for 2025. So we have a few other services in the Salmo Area G. One is the swimming pool service that basically funds the S230 service for the swimming pool. And then we've got the Youth and Community Center S218. Salmo Wellness Center, which is basically a contribution service, as well as the Salmon Area Library Service, which is seeing a 7% increase in contribution in 2024. We'll talk a little bit about Parks, S202. This is a, welcome to you. Hi. So Parks is a shared service with Nelson and areas E and F. So some of the initiatives this year are a part-time position is made into a full-time position at Cottonwood Lake, completion of the accessible trail loop, Great Northern Trail, some management planning work and brushing work there, continued work as well at Sunshine Bay, Tagging Beach, and Morning Mountain, and announced expansion of Rosebud Lake, so there'll be work there, and then as well as some work on the regional parks, trails, and water access strategy. Here's a graph that basically shows the growth of parks in hectares at the regional district going back to 1970. Most of the growth has actually been since about the year 2000, and the larger, and recently we've seen some large growth with the addition of the Cristobal Park, and then last year the addition to the Rosebud Lake Park. And so the Weimar, the one water utility, Area G is Weimar. So some work done last year, including a reservoir outflow meter and budgeting for some future work for UV systems and increases of 4% and 5% in the parcel tax in 2025. A little bit on fire services. So Weimar is seeing a considerable increase, mainly to fund the The future fire apparatus, we've seen a substantial increase in the cost of fire apparatus or fire trucks, as they might be known. About 5 or 6 years ago, you can buy a fire engine for about $400,000, where likely with inflation, supply chain constraints, loss in value of the US Canadian dollar, we're likely approaching $1 million for a new to replace a fire truck. And so that is one of the reasons the contribution has been increased there. Salmo contract is just a continuing contract of fire services for the rural area around Salmo. And where did it go? 2 pages there. Same. Okay. And then emergency 911, also seeing some substantial increases, mainly due 911 services are largely provided or are provided by 2 different dispatches, 911 in the South Okanagan, and then if it's fire related, it goes to the Fraser Fort George Fire Dispatch. So as we can see there, about a 25% increase in the cost of those services, and then some additional costs for 911. All right, so that covers off the services. The next set of slides, I think there's about 5 of them, are basically pie charts showing the distribution of a tax bill in various for various property owners in depending where you're located in the Salmo Area G area. And so what we've done is these dollars are per $250,000 of home value. So if your home value is 500, you multiply this by 2. If your home's worth 750, multiply 3. If it's $1 million, multiply by 4. Otherwise, the math gets a little more complicated. But anyway, this first chart is for somebody living in Weimar that gets fire protection from the Weimar Fire Department. Almost half of your tax bill is related to the fire protection services, and then about another, I'm going to say about 10 or 15% is for refuse disposal, and the rest distributed about over your 20 other services. So next is somebody living outside of Weimar, still in Area G, and gets an RDCK tax bill, in this case through the Hoodoo Valley. And again, now your fire protection's about 30%, refuse disposals 20%, and rec is about 10%. And so somebody with about a $500,000 home worth $500,000 will be paying about $1,250 of RDCK taxes. And this is Salmo contract. So this is very similar to the previous one. So this is somebody getting fire protection from the village of Salmo. So the chart looks similar as the previous. And now this is somebody in Area G whose property does not have fire protection. So your overall tax bill is considerably less. And now refuse disposal, rec, library, parks and rural administration are the 4 or 5 of the largest services. But again, refuse disposal is the largest. I think this is the final slide. So this is a property owner in the village of Salmo. This is for the RDCK portion of their tax bill. So about a third is for refuse disposal. About 20% is for, well, more than 20 if you combine a swimming pool. So probably again a little more than probably close to about 30% is for rec in the swimming pool and other recreational services such as parks And the library, so over half of your bill is related to recreation parks and community services. And then a few smaller services make up the other 25%. Okay, and that brings us to the end of our presentation today. So I'm going to open the floor to any questions or any comments.
Maybe, I don't know if you have anything, but ask somebody on the, if they have anything, or are you doing that yet?
Yeah, is there, if anybody's online's got any questions, please, please go ahead. I'm just going to unmute our mic here. If you've got a question, please, oh, Patty, if you can unmute yourself, we'll, yeah, hi.
Hi. Question. How do you decide, like, which service gets the percentage? You know, like, for example, the pool gets more money than the wellness center does. Like, how does that work? The wellness was, it said 4.58 and the pool was 17.17. How does that get decided?
I can answer that for you, Patty.
Okay.
There is, the wellness center gets a $10,000 from Area G that goes directly into our reserves. The pool, we actually fund to run it. So Salmo pays anything out, and the $10,000 goes into reserve. And then, so we're not running the wellness center, where as the RDCK, we're running the pool.
Okay.
So the percentage, it's not really a percentage base. It's how much does it cost to run the pool, and how much are we putting in reserves at the wellness center?
It costs a lot to run the pool.
Yep. And it's even going to get more. But the numbers that you see on there, we had a rec commission meeting last night, and we're down a little bit in both the fitness center and the rec commission. The fitness center went down $5,258, and the pool went down $8,487. So those numbers will come down. It was at, I think, around 20%, and we've brought it down to 11.2% to run both of them.
Okay. And then, like, something like the museum, that's like 6.49. How does that get decided? Like, how much, like, and like, how do you know where the money goes? Like, that's kind of my other question. Like, because these are like services. How do you know, like, who gets what, or what happens to that money? Let's say, for example, the museum gets.
I can talk about that, Patty. Yeah, the chance. Yeah, the museum gets, what, around $25,000 a year, something like that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's split on a percentage, because it's not all the Salmo Museum, it's also the Weimar Arts and Museum Society gets a quarter of it. And the museum itself splits its funding, and it's spaced in the square building together with the Chamber of Commerce. So a lot of it goes towards maintenance, just keeping the lights on, so to speak. And they get also employ summer students and things like that. So the cost, some of the cost goes there. In fact, when you think about it, if you had somebody working there, you can't employ anybody for $25,000 a year. So yeah, it's done very judiciously, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
So when you're speaking, when you ask the question of how do we know where the money goes, we don't. So there's a bylaw that was written years ago to help fund that economic development, which is, that money is the chamber. And same with the youth center, we don't dictate how they use that money. But something that maybe we need to look at is something like the library does, and they do it very well, is every year they bring a strategic plan on what they're doing with their money. And we don't see that from any other service that taxation goes towards. So that's something that I would like to see going forward is how do we do that? So people like yourself can see where that taxation is going towards. If it is to run the building and keep the lights on, then it will show that.
And yes, actually, yes, the mayor is talking about, us seeing the plans before they're done. We of course see the financial statements at the end of the year because they have to submit their financial statements to the district in order to get their next year's money. And, we generally see them at that time. Otherwise, people like me see them when I go to the meetings at the museum and the chamber and the library and all those other services. I go to those meetings and I input on their budgets quite regularly.
Yeah, I mean, like something like I was looking at the museum in Christina Lake. It's very clear that who their board is and like when they meet and what they do. And there's nothing about that in Salmo. There's no information. Just so you know, it's a great.
Okay, so Director Cunningham has said that he's gone to all those meetings. Maybe he can give. I don't go to those meetings. I don't know when they are held. And the youth center, I can say that I don't go to those. So they're always held on a Tuesday night when there's a council meeting. So I don't have an opportunity. But Director Cunningham is saying that he goes to the other ones. I know he sits on the board at the library. So I know that. But maybe he can give it more information of when those other meetings are being held.
Well, Patty, yeah, the people running those meetings should be able to tell you. If you check with, places at the chamber, she will tell you. And the hours for the museum should be posted on the door and adhered to. Because very often the person who runs the chamber is sitting in the chamber office and working on financial development and things like that, also will guide people through the museum and arrange those kinds of things. I can tell you a little bit more. I can tell you quite a bit more, but it'll take quite a while.
I don't want to take up any more time, but like, so the chamber and the museum are the same. Is that what you mean?
Well, but this way, they work together because neither of them gets enough money to hire anybody individually. So what they do is their funds come from different sources, and basically, yes, where the chamber, as you know, the chamber office and the museum are side by side in that building, and they pay a percentage of the square footage of that building. The library pays a major percentage of that building under the Square Society, but the museum and the chamber also have to pay a share. And it's decided by their square footage, how large the office is and so forth. And they pay for the heat and lights and repairs. And of course, the Square Society is an independent society. They don't get tax money. They just bill the services that are in the building. And when the Square Society was first started, about a quarter century ago, they also had the Girl Scouts, I believe, in the building, and there were a couple of other things. But now at this point, it's only the three.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. Any other questions from online? Any other questions from the room? Everybody's good?
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, Hans has a question.
Yeah, Hans has a question. Not directly to this. Some years ago, we're in this area right in Salmo, we have a flooding threat, because Salmo's flat. It was originally a swamp. And they built Erie Creek, they dredged Erie Creek to drain the swamp, actually literally. But Erie Creek is filling up and people are concerned. And of course, because it's gravel beds, there's, stream waters, people are concerned about flooding in the area. And I've had a number of petitions by people in the area saying, what can we do about flooding? Do we have any comments on that you could possibly say?
I don't have comments myself. So yeah, that would probably be a discussion for outside of this meeting. Hi there.
Okay. My second question is still talking about the flooding. Just before we started, this is Salmo Area G, and ourselves. And later on got the whole district, I believe, involved in a program whereby we can laterally see what the flooding done on a computer. And they say, listen, if the water goes foot over the so-called flood level, here's the flooding area you see flooded. If it goes 2 feet over, here's the area. And the directors I know were so impressed that I believe we had the whole district done. Can you tell me the name of what that procedure is or what that thing is? I forget.
Yeah, I'm not a flooding expert, but I'll check tomorrow and get back to you on with that information.
Thanks, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
We were talking about it just recently. And
Yeah, it sounds like really
it was
interesting
a fascinating
technology.
Yeah, use of technology. And it helped because, for example, Salmo had some movable barriers that they were putting up when the flooding came. And now with this technology, they can tell which way, which we thought was level and low, may not be level and low, and there are other areas you may need to protect rather than the ones that are considered. And things we can do about protection. Also, I'm talking about flooding now, is the problem is working with the provincial government, because rather than raise the bank, maybe the best answer is to lower the stream again. It is all grass.
We'll call floodplain mapping.
Yeah.
They use GIS technology for that.
Yeah, well, we've had GIS technology for a long time, but this is the horizontal.
That's exactly what it is. So, and it's through our emergency and we have an emergency meeting that's coming up that I don't know if it's John or Ian Briscoe but one of them, John Jackson or Ian Briscoe.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have another meeting scheduled for 7?
o'clock.
Okay. So
Council, more budget.
we'll wrap this one up.
Yeah.
You've taken all the budget fun away.
Thank you for the people that came online.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. We'll be concluding this meeting now. Oh, Patty, you have another question? No? Okay, you're good. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for attending. Appreciate it. Be nice to get a few more